Hey, I'm the D&D hunter, definitely not a mind flayer in disguise, totally human, mustache and all. I've been running D&D games for 10 years now, and I've watched the game grow from a very quickly growing tabletop game into the full-blown cultural movement it's become. In the past few years alone, Dungeons & Dragons has become movies, shows, video games, and even an upcoming documentary. So let's talk about where D&D is heading next, outside the game itself. There's a lot going on in the adaptations of D&D, so I'm going to discover what's actually happening, what are just rumors, and what we can expect to see in Dungeons & Dragons next that, like I said, isn't just the upcoming book releases. Starting with movies. So Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves was incredible. It truly felt like it was written as a Dungeons & Dragons campaign in the sense that you can even tell certain things like names feeling like the Dungeon Master had to come up with on the spot.
Pardon my belatedness.
It had the serious story involving the Red Wizards, but also at the same time kept its charm, its humor, that you find at your table. Throw in lore-accurate world of monsters you know and love, and references, and you get the perfect D&D adaptation for something like Netflix. Yeah, the movie was not a box office hit. It came out right before John Wick 4 and the Super Mario Bros. Movie, which made it sort of doomed to be a success financially. It was destroyed by its competition, but it won people over with, like I said, its charm, its humor, and the actual respect for the source material. Dungeons & Dragons fans all seem to love it, and even people who don't know D&D very much, they all seem to love it as well. It's just not many people actually saw it, unfortunately. When the movie came out, I actually got to go to an advanced screening with my D&D party of fellow mind flayers and one elf. Pretty much everyone in that theater was a group of 4 to 10 people, all seemed to be different D&D parties and cosplays of the characters, wearing elf ears, armor. Get this, I even saw a guy with a beard. Probably a homage to his dwarven character that he plays, maybe, but it was a fun night of D&D fans. There's been talk, rumors mostly, about a sequel, but there's nothing official yet. The cast has mentioned that they want it, the crew seems to want it, fans want it. Hasbro, I feel like they would also want it, but they don't want to risk another failure. If they were to do this movie, they gotta release it at a time where there's not a lot of competition. Don't release it next to John Wick 5, don't release it next to Super Mario Bros. 2, and maybe it'll be more successful. Honor Among Thieves has become more of a hit on streaming. I know it was very popular on Netflix, so maybe if you do make a sequel, we now have more eyes on this series as more people have seen Honor Among Thieves, and they'll want to check out the sequel knowing what type of thing they're getting into. If this does happen, this could be a huge step forward in a potential D&D cinematic universe, but like I said, nothing official yet. It's going to be a few years before we see another D&D movie, if that does end up happening.
Just wandering off. Walks in such a straight line. Uh-oh, wait a minute. He's coming up on a rock. Is he gonna go around? Nope. Right over the rock.
Hope is not lost for Dungeons & Dragons in live action though, as we do have television. Next up, let's talk about the live action series. A live action Dungeons & Dragons TV series was confirmed for Paramount Plus about 2 years ago. It didn't have much traction and much development after the movie didn't do so well. It was being developed by the creator of Red Notice, so take that as you will. It seemed like all hope was lost until this year. In February this year, Dungeons & Dragons live action series was confirmed to move to Netflix. The creative team changed quite a bit, but we still have some people that were on the Paramount Plus series to come over. We also learned that the Paramount Plus series was going to be 8 episodes long. Now that it's on Netflix, there's a chance that could extend beyond that. As of now, we don't know too much about this series, but it's currently titled The Forgotten Realms, named after obviously the famous Dungeons & Dragons campaign setting. Drew Crivello, who was previously attached as the showrunner for Paramount Plus project, has come over to Netflix to serve as the writer and executive producer and showrunner for the Netflix version. Some of Crivello's previous works that are notable is X-Men First Class, which he helped develop along with Deadpool. He also did an Apple limited series called We Crashed as a co-showrunner. Now the Paramount Plus series had a few problems, in that it's being compared to something like Game of Thrones, but with more gelatinous cubes of course. I don't know how I feel about this yet. Do they mean Game of Thrones is like the cultural phenomenon that it was for most of its airtime, or do they mean Game of Thrones in terms of stylized or feeling? Now I love Game of Thrones. Now I love most of Game of Thrones, It's also a very serious show, which can work for Dungeons and Dragons, but I'd rather we stick with the vibe that the movie gave us. Colorful atmosphere, whimsical world, humor, that should all be present in this. If the show's too serious, I mean, that could work, but I personally just hope they stick with the lighter side of D&D. You can keep a darker story, you can keep dark characters, but I need a little bit of jokes here and there.
What is it exactly that you bring to this?
I'm a planner. I make plans.
You've already made the plan, so
If the existing plan fails, I make a new plan.
you make plans that fail.
No,
He also plays the lute.
not relevant.
But now that it's at Netflix, things can change. It could be as whimsical as I wanted it to be. Like I said, this was announced in February 2025, so it's still like kind of fresh and still on the move of making things happen. It makes sense, Netflix being the home to Stranger Things, that you put a Dungeons and Dragons series on here. Dungeons and Dragons, as I mentioned earlier in this video, was also extremely popular on Netflix, so having just that IP up on the front page, that's gonna get some attention. You can't do a D&D session without a few laughs. Like that one video game did. Baldur's Gate 3 won Game of the Year in 2023, and he used the D&D 5e rules to an incredible effect. It showed what happens when you treat players like storytellers and not just characters following a set path. Wizards of the Coast have teased more games coming, but Baldur's Gate 4 is unlikely, at least in the same sense that Baldur's Gate 3 is. Larian Studios, the makers of Baldur's Gate 3, have moved on to new games, a different game that's confirmed to not be a Dungeons and Dragons type game, which means it's not Baldur's Gate 4. I'm sure Baldur's Gate 4 can happen, and I'm sure Larian Studios' upcoming game is going to be great, but it's going to be different. There were talk about a DLC for BG3 with a focus on Karlach, but it was scrapped as Larian found the game to be complete and not really needing more DLC. Which is honestly a nice thing to hear, despite me wanting a Karlach DLC. It's good to, you pay for the game and you get the full thing. But like I said, other companies out there are making D&D type games. There's a lot announced, but not a lot of information just yet. Most of it seems to be rumors, so I kind of compiled a list of just what's confirmed and what we know so far. Without getting too much into all these, this is the list that I have. Project Baxter, which is a co-op Dungeons & Dragons game that's in development at Starbreeze, it's scheduled to launch next year, but we don't know much outside that. A new game from Invoke, formerly known as Took, which made the Dark Alliance games. The recently announced action-adventure game in development at Giant Skull, which is the studio founded by Stig Asmussen, might be pronouncing that wrong, and a survival life simulator / action RPG that's in development at Gameloft. These are all under the same hood of Dungeons and Dragons, but made by different companies. And another thing on this list is Baldur's Gate 4, which is confirmed, but we don't know pretty much anything on that. Though Dan Ayob said that fans of the franchise would know a little bit more of what's coming in short order. Whatever that means. They got a tough game to follow, but it's good to see that Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro are expanding their property more so. Even if they're sort of making it themselves, as they are in a way. Virtual tabletop platform. Remember that Dungeons & Dragons Direct from a while ago? There was a really big focus on the video game battle mat system. Wizards is actually building a full-blown virtual tabletop. It's being built in Unreal Engine, and it looks like a video game version of the combat in D&D. Animated minis, fog effect, dynamic lighting, they all run from your DM screen. Some dungeon masters are worried this might kill imagination. But others, like myself, think it'll make storytelling more immersive than ever before. Either way, this is a huge leap forward. Personally, I'm just nervous on the price of putting it all together. It does look really cool, but also maybe potentially expensive. I tend to DM mostly in-person games, and just using grid paper and markers and a few minis and terrain happen to be my go-to for battles. Sometimes it can look really good, and sometimes it can look really poor. They still work in the end because we're using our imagination, but I would love a chance to use this new tabletop platform for my battles. I can make the forest paths seem a bit more realistic, help the players visualize what I'm going for when I say that there's a lot of waves in the sea during the ship battle. And I'm sure the players would love to see their spells actually have visual instead of just describing it, which is still fine. But, a lot of times recently in my D&D campaigns when someone uses a spell like Acid Splash, they'll say, it looks like how it does in Baldur's Gate 3. Now let's not forget the actual plays that have helped D&D expand. Critical Role, Dimension 20, Adventure Zone, and more. They've made D&D a watchable experience, even for people that don't play themselves. We got animated series like Vox Machina and the upcoming Mighty Nine show that are proof that people want long-form storytelling and not just dice rolls. D&D is being consumed like streaming series by millions. Honestly, that rocks. Anyone can record their campaign and get memorable moments caught on camera for the world to see and love. People can end up trending and getting more popular, and some people have their campaign as their job. It's incredible. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about was announced a bit recently. I actually just remembered it while doing this research of the video. Even though it's pretty cool, we just haven't heard much about it since its initial announcement. Joe Manganiello is producing a Dungeons and Dragons documentary series that will trace the full game's history, from its creation to today. It's still in development, and it can land on either Netflix or HBO.
And I think it's important to say that we're not just documenting D&D's roller coaster of a history, but the incredible impact that it's had on the world and our culture up till now.
This can push the franchise even further. It tells people Dungeons & Dragons isn't just a hobby for a lot of people, it's a cultural force. It's been in development for a while now, but I have hope that Archon the Cruel, Joe's notable Red Dragonborn character, can make something amazing and respectful to Dungeons & Dragons, talking about the history of the game, where it is today, its culture impact on different sort of cultures like Stranger Things, Community, to getting its own movie, series, popular video games, the game of the year, and the future that it's becoming, not just for the adaptations that we're talking about in this video, but even like the recent 2024 rule sets and how that's expanded the game and the upcoming books arriving that are also going to expand the game even more so. Dungeons & Dragons, it's got more competition than it ever has before, but the game is continuing to grow, not just in the actual tabletop experience, but beyond. You're seeing Dungeons & Dragons everywhere. It's being referenced in other media. It's got its own episode at Amazon's Secret Level docuseries, which, side note, is really good, by the way. I did a bit of research. I didn't find anything on the story of this episode continuing, but my god, this short animated D&D episode is some of the best action I've seen on video. The way they use magic, the way they show the characters and the classes, it is... Go watch this. It's very short. It's on Amazon Prime. It is amazing. Amazon Secret Level Dungeons and Dragons episode.
Whole lot of dragon.
Tiamat.
So what does the future of Dungeons and Dragons look like? Well, it's cinematic, it's digital, it's animated, it's everywhere, and the game's roots are still at the table. It's got branches that are reaching beyond that. Would you watch a gritty D&D live action series like Game of Thrones? Or maybe more of a fun, light-toned animated one? Let me know. Thanks for watching. I'm the D&D Hunter. Please subscribe. I'm still new to Dungeons & Dragons YouTube, but I want to keep at it and keep growing as much as possible. New videos every single week. I would love if you guys can just engage in this video by commenting, liking, subscribing, just anything you can. Sharing maybe to someone that you know that plays D&D or is a fan or wants to get into it. I'll see you next time.